Hi, this is Tish Griffin here again with Family Credit Management, and the purpose of me being here is to talk to you about your finances, answer any questions that you may have regarding debt, regarding credit cards, regarding anything that you may be going through, any financial stress that you're having, so that you can better deal with your creditors and make smart financial decisions for you. Now, over the next few minutes, we are going to be talking about some very detailed things. But if by any chance you need any help at all with your finances, with your debt, with any of the things that we've talked about here today, I do want you to reach out to a counselor at Family Credit Management. And you can go online to the website at familycredit.org or call a counselor at 800-994-3328. So I do want you to use this as a trusted resource. Now, today's topic that I want to talk with you about is one that's very near and dear to my heart. And actually, I'm going to share something with you as well. Over the past few weeks, I actually lost one of my very closest friends. And I'm telling you this because her passing actually had a profound effect on me in so many different ways. But one of the things that it actually caused me to think about is, what do you do when the inevitable happens? How are you prepared for it? And I want to talk with you about it because no one really wants to deal with it or think about what happens when we pass. I know we're not really ready to go. We always think that there's more time. There's something that we still have to do. But you never know when your time is up. So I want to make sure that I get you to thinking about those things and how you can best prepare yourself, your loved ones, your family members for what's next to come. Because at the same time, you leaving, or even if we don't want to think about you, just your relatives leaving or passing. It could be your mom, dad, your grandparents, sisters, brothers, whatever you're going through. I want you to think about how that necessarily affects you and your other family members. Again, we're always thinking about, hey, we've got more time. And you may say, well, how does this relate to finances? Let me tell you that this is the one thing that a lot of people find most challenging with their finances is when something happens, who's going to pay for the funeral? Are we going to have a funeral? Was there a life insurance policy? There was no life insurance policy. What do? Do we start a GoFundMe? So these are all things that families think about. But if we take little bitty steps right now, we can better prepare everyone for what's happening. So the first thing I want to tell you that when I lost my friend, of course, I'm going to tell you that it was before age 40 that her passing affected everyone. You think about, you have your loved ones that you're leaving behind, your children that may not even be fully grown and ready to be submerged into the world. And now they have no direction, no financial standings. So it's like, okay, that's why this is important. What happens when you leave a 12-year-old with not only no parents, but no way to take care of themselves? So we want to start thinking about that. The first thing that I want you to think about is no matter what age, you need to make your wishes known. You need to make it plain as far as what you expect to happen. And if you want this to actually happen, we're going to go over some ways in a moment just to make sure that you can get this executed. Because some people, they have a plan. They put the plan together, but guess what? We forgot to tell people that we did it. So now we're still stuck in that same situation. I don't want to see that happen to you. So when I think about it, first you want to make sure that you have everything together, have everything written down and prepared. You can reach out to a certified counselor to get direction or resources on this. You can reach out to an estate planner, real estate planner, a probate attorney. These are people that can help you. And also IllinoisLegalAid.gov. Great resource for you to find some information on so that you can think about this. There are lots of forms that are out there that you can prepare. There are some people even taking advantage of this situation, but everything is available at your fingertips so that you can make the right decisions when the time comes. So what do I say? We want to make sure we have everything written out. First thing, think about this. Is all of your financial information together? So I know in this day and age, we've all got bank accounts, we've got passwords for our phones, we've got passwords for different things. Where's that information going? Is there someone that we trust to be in charge of this if something were to happen? I know that there are some people out there say, hey, if something happens to my cell phone, you know, my best friend should handle it, or my mother should handle it. This is my code. This is my emergency code. And this is my directives. This is what I want to happen with this phone and my information. Because guess what? You've got passwords there too. You got your financial information. A lot of times we log in and out of our bank accounts either on our mobile devices or on our computer, right? We aren't so much into going into the banks as much anymore. And so you want to make sure that you have someone even on your bank account as the beneficiary. Now, banks have it set up, whereas if you were to pass, and only if you were to pass, there would be a person that you select, your beneficiary or your proxy, that can go into the bank and get the information on your account, that can make decisions on your account and can get like your balance information, can know what's going on, because at that moment when you pass, your account should freeze, which means if you've got children, guess what? They can't get a hold of that money. And guess what? And if no one has your passwords, you still can't get into it. So that's why you want to make sure that you have this information written down, electronically saved. Maybe you save it somewhere. Even if you were to save it in your like bank deposit box, things like that, you still have to have a way to get to it. So you want to make sure that you've got all of your financial, your account numbers, your bank names, retirement information, life insurance policies, whatever assets that you may have, stocks, bonds, certificates, all of that information should be written down. And you may say, well, where am I supposed to write that at? How am I supposed to keep it? Guess what? If you go and grab this My Spending Plan and do you one better, Personal Finance Made Easy off of the Family Credits website, there are places in here where you can list out all of your assets. You can list that information so that if something were to happen, then people know where to get that information from. So you've got it here. You can use this guide. Again, I told you this is a good resource. I want to see you using it. But to write down what your assets are and where people can go to make sure that things are together. You need your beneficiaries' information, and they need to know who to contact. Your family should know, in the case of emergencies, this person is going to be responsible. This is the person that our descendant chose to spearhead this, because some family members may take it offensively, but at the same time, at your passing, your family is probably distraught. So you want to make sure that everything is in order. Also, if you've got any PIN numbers, you want to have those written down. Maybe your debit card, your bank cards, they have PIN numbers. People should know that information as well. The other thing that a lot of people don't want to think about is when these things happen, funeral information. Should we have a funeral? We didn't have enough for the funeral, the burial, all of that. All of those things cost money. I mean, you're talking about thousands and thousands of dollars, which is why it is really important to have at least a term life insurance policy. Now, there's other different insurance vehicles, some that carry cash value, some that have a lot more worth. But in the end, if you have at least a term life policy to take care of your funeral related expenses, as well as maybe clear up some of your past debts and everything, because that's important. You want to make sure that you've got that, and that we know, your family knows who your beneficiary is, who will receive those funds when you pass, and how they can receive it. To have this policy and just say, hey, this is the money, this is our beneficiary. No, we want to have it written down and those directives on who gets what, when they get it, and how it's going to go. Who's going to initiate this for us as well on our behalf. This is something that should be reviewed annually, especially as you get older and older. You want to make sure that everything is in place, and if something were to happen, or in the event that you are deemed that you cannot care for yourself as well. So it's always important, even starting right now, to have this information written down someplace that your family can access it, that the proper parties know where it's at. Again, these are not things that we like to think about at all. I mean, talking about the end of life is something that people don't think about. But at the same time, you want to be prepared for what happens, be it you're passing tomorrow or 30, 40 years from now. You want to make sure you have everything in order. A lot of family feel, hey, well, does your debt go away once you pass on? Guess what? Everything that you do goes into what's called your estate. So that if you got past debt and you've got assets, they are weighted together. And then after that, whatever is left, your family can actually take care of whatever it is, whatever expenses, and their care for the next few years, hopefully. Also in the state of Illinois, if you are to pass, and there could be the possibility for your descendants, for your family members to receive maybe up to 9 months worth of care, worth of payments to help them get going, to keep things in order. But you've got to request, you need to know where to go for that information. Again, IllinoisLegalAid.gov is a great place to start, especially if you don't have an attorney or you don't have a financial planner or anyone that you can talk to. The next thing that I wanted to mention is that if you were to pass, how about letting your relatives know what's going to happen? Not only what's going to happen, but how you feel about them. And so it's always recommended that you leave behind what's called a personal letter of bequest. And when you're thinking about this letter of personal bequest, essentially what it's saying is that's the act of giving to someone or something on your behalf. So if you were to pass, imagine how much more comforted your loved ones will feel with just getting that letter from you saying, hey, I love you, and this is a token of my love. I know things could be rough, but hopefully this will make this better for you. So that's something that you want to keep in mind. Also, a lot of people think when I was growing up, I was taught that if you had a letter notarized of what you wanted your plans to be, that's all you needed, and that was that. Guess what? That no longer cuts it. So you want to make sure that if you do want things to go a certain way, you have it laid out, you have it clear as day, written notice, work with an attorney, and establish a will. Yes, you can possibly even do this on your own, but your will needs to be executed properly. So just to have it won't do you any good if it's not executed properly on your behalf. And so you want to sit down with someone and actually go through each step of this. You can have them handle the personal letter of bequest as well as the will. And these things want to work together to make sure that your family has clarity in your passing. And you may say, well, wills, they cost like thousands and thousands of dollars. Keep in mind, this is something that your family needs to be stable. So investing right now, just a little bit, will go a long ways. And you can also remember, if you're looking for an attorney, you're looking for someone to help you execute this, go ahead, get a few different scenarios, a few different quotes, talk to a few different people, and go with who you feel confident with, who you feel has your best interest at heart, and will give your family the best possible attention in the time of need. Another thing you want to make sure is that when you're going over this, you're putting everything in the will, make sure you have that information on your assets, your life insurance, any annuities, anything like that, any type of property that needs to go into it. Because again, not something that people want to think about. What's the purpose of having a will if it's not executed properly? So you do need someone to walk you through that process and figure out what's right for you. Again, if you've got some questions, you can reach out to a counselor at 800-994-3328 to get some referrals and resources to help you with planning for your end of life and make sure that your family is taken care of. Again, you can never start at the wrong age. Or you may say, I've got time, I'm gonna wait 10, 20 years from now. I'm only 19, nothing's gonna happen. I'm only 25, nothing's gonna happen. I've got time. It's always best, no matter what your age is, to start now. Again, if you can't do it full blown out, executing a will, go for the personal letter of bequest, have that notarized, and then work on getting that into a full-fledged will as you progress. Having something is going to help, and it's going to go a long ways. Also, make sure you let someone know where this information is. It could be a best friend, it could be a trusted partner, it could be your attorney. You could leave it with your attorney. You want to make sure that they know who to contact, your contact's information, your beneficiary's information, your family's contact information, and vice versa. Share that information with your family too, so that they know who to reach out to. I want to let you know, there are actually counselors that can help you with that too. Funeral counselors are available. There are estate planners and estate attorneys. So those are the people that you should keep in mind when you're working through this. So keep that really close. Start now. Start working, especially with the end of the year coming soon too. You want to make sure you got everything together for the future. This is part of it. It's not just about your credit score. It's so much. Your financial health, your financial future is so much bigger than just your credit score or the amount of money that you have in your bank account. It's all inclusive, and this is actually a part of it. We also look at retirement, right? We think about retirement all the time, and that's part of our financial security. So is this. It's equally as important. Now, a lot of us, again, we want to make sure that we have a life insurance policy. And sometimes with life insurance, especially lately with the way that insurance is going, sometimes we may feel we cannot afford the coverage that we should seek. At that time, especially even if you've had your policy for a while, you want to see, it's okay for you to do some shopping and see if you can find something better somewhere else. If you can find different terms. If you've had a policy, let's say you've had your term life insurance policy for 10 years, you've paid it religiously, but now once that term is going to come to fruition in another 10, 20 years, depending on how long you have, what's going to happen then? There are certain policies out there that you can look at now, and as policies are updated, to see if there's a way for this policy to carry cash value in the future. If you can say at the end of this term, yes, my term is done with this term policy, but the amount that I'm supposed to be paid out, can we take that and put it into another vehicle, another savings vehicle or retirement vehicle to help with that as well? So you want to think about, is an IUL okay for you? Variable life insurance policy, whole life insurance policies. These are things that we're going to explore in another show too. So I want you to be thinking about this because it's very important. A lot of times we put our money on the wrong things. We gamble here and there and take chances and risks in life. But think about with insurance, you're making sure that your family is okay. You're making sure that you're okay. Just like you need auto insurance and health insurance to cover certain things, life insurance should also be needed as well. So just think about it. Now, last thing we want to touch on in this show, think about this. If you are to pass without anything, there's no will, no further directives, what happens in the state of Illinois with all of your things, your possessions? What happens? So if you pass in Illinois and you do not have a will, that is what we call intestate. Intestate just means that you didn't plan. There was no will, nothing. So guess what? All of your assets, everything, it goes into probate or goes through the court system. Now we've got to go through the court system to see what's going to happen with everything you owe and everything you have. Does it go to your family right away if you have no will? No. Now we've got to do some digging. See, okay, how much debt does she actually owe? Okay, how much does she have in her accounts? What's her retirement like? We've got to do some investigative digging. This takes time if you don't have anything written down. Again, why you want to have it planned out. So think about that. Eventually, your family will start to receive what it is that you have, your assets and everything. But it's, again, takes time. If you are married and you have no children, everything that you have, once after the review is complete now, will go to your spouse. Okay? Now let's say you're married and you have children. In that case, 50% of what you have left will go to your spouse, and the other 50% will be divided equally amongst your children. So if you just have one child, then yes, 50% to your spouse, 50% to your child. If you've got 3 children though, and you're married, your 50% will go to your spouse, and this other 50% will be divided equally amongst your 3 children. Take it one step further. You're married and you got 10 children. Guess what? Spouse gets 50%, and then each one of your children gets 5% off of that because you got 10 of them. So keep that in mind. Also, if you've got no spouse and no children, then it's going to go to your next closest survivor. Now, why am I telling you this part? It's important because a lot of times, and don't take this the wrong way, but sometimes we have family members that we just don't get along with and we just don't like, and things happen. But keep in mind, if you are down to just that family member, your assets, the remaining part of your estate, will go to your next closest survivor. Now, that could be your parents. If you got siblings, it could go to them. So if you have parents and you have siblings, let's say you've got 3 brothers living and you've got your mom and dad, your mom and dad will get 50% together. So each parent gets 25%, and your brothers, that 50% will be divided equally amongst them. And you may say, well, I like one of my brothers more than all the rest, so I want him to get more than everybody. Can't do that. If you want it that way, you need to have it written down. So make sure that you know if you want something to happen like that, you need to take the time and get a will going, because your next of kin, they're going to go as far back as they can. And then if there's no one left, no one at all, then your real property, or what's considered your real property, and think real property. When I say real property, I want you to think real estate. So a home, townhouse, all of those, that will go to the county you live in. Everything else, assets such as cars that need to be sold, bank accounts, all of that will go towards the state. So they just get more money. So I want you to keep that in mind, because it's important for you to sit down, write out these things, look at what you're getting yourself into. If you know how you want things to go when you pass, you need to make it known, because other than that, we have nothing left to go off of. Also, last little thing I want to throw out there before our show wraps up. If you have non-partners or stepchildren that you want things to go to, just because you have a stepchild does not mean that they will automatically get anything at all. If you want them to get anything or something, you have to have that in writing too, because guess what? They're not listed as your true blood. And that's what matters here when you're talking about your estates. Have it there in writing, or else they'll be left out in the cold too. And your real children, your blood children, will actually be the ones that are beneficiaries and benefit from your passing. Not your stepchildren, not any businesses or any charities that you have set aside or that you donate to. All of that needs to be in writing too. So I hope this information was helpful for you. I really want you to think about everything that we have talked about here, because when you think about your debt, like I said, this is a part that people do not want to think about at all. They don't want to think about passing, and they don't really care about how it relates to finances, because I've heard a few people say, I'm not going to be here anyway. I don't care. But you really should. Take the time to sit down with your family, let them know your wishes, and to make sure that you've got it all in writing. And remember, nowadays, not a notarized letter is not necessarily good enough. You want to make sure you have an attorney that will execute things on your behalf, that you have your insurance policies set, that your families know who to go to in the event something happens, okay? And if you've got any questions, you can reach out to a counselor. Again, go to Family Credit's website at familycredit.org or call 800-994-3328. We'll be back again next week. You guys take care.